Yes. So we are back after 3 weeks. It's been a little bit of a break, and we're back here on this stretch now, heading our way to Pesach. Hope everyone had a nice Purim. And okay. All right. So we just finished chapter 7, and we are stretching our way along to chapter 8 over here. Nechitzas, Eliois, Nefesh, Va'amidos. So talking about what it is to elevate the Aliyas HaNefesh, the raising up the Nefesh. You leaving? But we have Shir.
I'll turn on the phone.
No, you won't.
Bye. Hold on. Thank you so much, August, for today.
Sure. Um, okay. Say hello to YouTube.
YouTube.
Yep.
Oh, hi, YouTube.
Yeah. Anyway. So we all right, we can talk about why the Piazetzner's stance on the importance of elevating your character and your soul. We've gone through a lot of different midos until this point. I think for the remainder of the book, we're going to zoom out on specific midos and talk a little bit more abstract and chasidus and the value and the importance of trying to find shlemos, which is a person's personal completeness. We're put here to try to become the best we can be. Obviously, we're not going to ever hit perfection, but we're here to try to bolster ourselves up to become the best we can be. And it's a constant pursuit. It's something that doesn't stop until the day that we die, and it's something that a person can't schluff on. And I want to reiterate that I think the most important thing for a person is to become growth oriented, because if that's a part of your character when you're young, then you'll take that into your adulthood. Life can become very repetitive. It'll become very routine, and then a person can slack or stop, being proactive or thinking about what it is to develop themselves, get very comfortable where they are. And that's death. That's literally death on earth. It's not the way it's meant to be. So let's dive in. We're on chapter 8 on page 161. So he goes, now, dear student, review everything we've set up until this point. Take each item of self-improvement that we mentioned, internalize it, and perfect yourself to the best of your ability. Don't feel bad if you don't succeed at the first try, since there is only one thing that can be accomplished quickly, and that is stumbling and falling into the abyss of Gehenna. This is something that I find, and we'll stop to make this point because I think it's so important. Every person who's growth oriented, who cares about elevating their character, they're good people who put a lot of pressure on themselves to try to be the best they can be. And it happens, I would say, the majority of the time where there's this moment where people feel, well, they'll say the words, I feel like I'm going backwards. I feel like everything that I've gained is gone. I feel like the person I was, I'm not the same type of person. I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I'm really like down in the dumps. They get into this mode where it's like they're very disappointed in themselves because they're not at this moment of thriving where they're like on top of the world and stuff like that. And they become very hard on themselves and critical of themselves, obviously because they demand excellence of themselves, and they want to grow, they want to succeed, they want to become the best they can be. And the answer, which is always the same, is you have to remind them and remind yourselves and remind us what growth really looks like versus what we think it looks like. The whole 3 steps forward, 1 step back chill, right? Growth like is not in a one-way direction like this. It's complicated. You have your ups, you have your downs. Problem is if you're not responsible with your downs and you come to this conclusion that, oh, I'm not that great and I'm going backwards, and what's the point of it all? I'm just going to give up and throw it all in. It makes sense. It happens both ways. Sometimes when people have that high, right, when they're in a good place, they're like, this is who I am now. This is forever me. They don't anticipate that crash and burn, that fall. When they fall, they're not responsible with it because they don't realize that that's the way it's supposed to be. That's really what growth looks like. You're going to have your days, you're going to have your funks that can last a day. Those funks can last weeks, it can last months, right? It's a part of the natural process of growing. Nothing comes fast except for tripping and falling, right? For example, if a person lets it all go and then they go and they do really dumb things that they can't bounce back from because they've decided that they're in a funk and that they're no good or that they're not succeeding in the way that they wanted to succeed, then that's the workings of the Yetzer Hara. We have to be responsible with what growth really, truly looks like, and give ourselves a little bit of space and a little bit of empathy when we find ourselves falling. Improving oneself requires a tremendous amount of hard and persistent work. The key word there is persistent, meaning just to stay on top of it, to not let off, right? Again, you can have a day where you're just not feeling it. Oh my God, and I didn't dive in today and I didn't do the thing that I said I was going to take myself up upon, right? Even for myself, I took upon myself like 5 years ago to learn a certain amount, once a month, whatever it is. And I find myself right now, like, the last couple of months, struggling to keep my head over water. And I'm just like, this is not working at all. And I needed to take a step back, and I didn't want to because a part of me also felt like, hey, I'm losing the progress. I was doing so well. Me taking a step back at this point, that I'm not heading in that direction. And you have to remind yourself, and I have to remind myself, this is temporary, right? Right now, I'm a little bit whatever. I'm overworked. I'm stressed. I don't know, whatever. I got to pick myself up, gather myself, and then get back on the horse, later on. But it's not, if I were to say, okay, then this is done because I'm going in the wrong direction, and that's my reality. I'm failing. It's not healthy. Persistent work means just stay on top of it, and you just, focusing on the long game. On the contrary, if you've identified a flawed character trait, contemplated our words, begun to work on yourself, and think you've met with instant success, know that you are just deluding yourself. You're going, and I said this point for those who remember on the last week of TJJ. If anybody remembers what the message I said was. Anybody?
The
You
Little
remember?
whole, I don't
con
know exactly what you're talking about.
context hint? Yeah, what?
Like we're talking about like the
It's very
if you
broad.
say TDJ changed your life, you're wrong. Like it's
Correct.
not changed till you get back and you actually put in the work and blah blah
Correct.
blah.
Correct. We'll see. We can look around because I think enough time has gone by. We can look around on Geula and evaluate whose life truly changed. Now, when you go back to the summer and you go back to that main event and you see that everyone's sitting there and they're feeling, oh my God, TJ changed my life. Okay. What I said was, no, it didn't because you haven't done anything yet. But those people who have been consistent and persistent, staying on top of working on themselves, will definitely have what to show for it. And those who are still involved and still in the game, still care, those are the people that you look at and say, okay, you're the people who are well on their way to success. It's a crazy thing to see, honestly. You're going to need to consider a number of tries and a great deal of time to work on yourself bit by bit until you succeed and not getting discouraged. Yeah, discouragement comes from unrealistic expectations. That's really, really what I believe. You get discouraged when you're not meeting the expectations that you had no business setting for yourself in the first place. Say like that, like if God doesn't expect it of you, why should you expect it of you? God understands that you're a human being and that you have your ups and your downs, but for you, you're not giving yourself any space to fail. This is where a person will never reach the finish line. They'll throw in the towel because they're like, "What's the point? It's too hard to achieve. Look at me, I'm failing." It's such a flawed. It's horrible. I think false expectations becomes one of the biggest stumbling blocks that a person puts in front of themselves. It's a huge, huge problem, and it has to be. You have to deal with that stuff responsibly. Do you understand the point? You know what I'm saying? Right now, again, your rebellion, your mentors, they could be the ones in your life to tell you, hey, by the way, have a little mercy on yourself. You're okay. We want to get to a place where we can be that person for ourselves. So we can look in the mirror and say, it's okay. It's all right. Listen, as long as I'm chipping away piece by piece every day and I don't have these unrealistic expectations. You should also be aware, however, that what we've said up to this point is not enough for you to elevate yourself to the level that you're capable of reaching. Rather, it is a sort of tidying up the room, of dusting it and ridding it of the mice that might have settled in. But the room is not yet ready for the king to come in and reside in it. It still needs to be whitewashed. It needs drawing of flowers and some tasteful furnishing to beautify the room according to the king's directive and spirit. As we said before, sur me'arav v'yaseh tov. You're not just about cleaning up that room, figuratively, you understand the metaphor, but it's also about beautifying. It's also about being proactive in your pursuit to be able to beautify the place, right? To turn yourself into that. A person who has within him one of the negative character traits as we mentioned, for example, is laziness, lethargic, or lack the capability for independent thought. You see how he refers to that as a negative character trait, right? Lacking the capability for independent thought. Everyone's capable of it. The question is how much effort you put into it. In such a bad state that it's impossible for him to begin to serve Hashem properly. That is why we began by explaining how to rid ourselves of the poisonous de decadent spiritual dust. But to be a Jew, a member of Hashem's special nation that is close to him, the nation with whom he chooses to make his covenant, requires us to do more, to enhance ourselves, to elevate, and to bring ourselves closer to him as we have cleansed ourselves of the repulsive attributes mentioned above. And now this, again, to there are elements, I'll put it this way, right? Inspiration is very, very important, right? To go above and beyond. There is the baseline of what a person needs to do, a Jew needs to do to work on himself. Halacha is a baseline stuff. And then there is the going, above and beyond, going on the offense, going and being proactive about infusing yourself with Kedusha, finding situations that lift you up, finding situations that light your fire, that get you excited about your avoda, about being Jewish. These things also become extremely important to go above and beyond. It's not just about like, let's say Shabbos, like about keeping Shabbos, about beautifying Shabbos, about going out and doing a little bit extra, going above and beyond to make the experience beautiful, whatever that looks like. But we're gonna dive into some of his ideas. Just take a look at the Midrash in Koheles Rabbah. Who was created for whom? Klal Yisrael for the Torah or Torah for Klal Yisrael? The Midrash concludes that it is the Torah that was created for Klal Yisrael. How shocking. The Torah, which is so holy, the Torah that the angels in heaven long to receive, its entire purpose was for the creation was for Klal Yisrael. All in all, Hashem came to Mount Sinai with tens of thousands of heavenly angels, thundered through the skies, and shook the earth to its core, all for the Jewish people. The entire purpose of this inconveniencing himself to come, so to speak, was in order for you and your friends to be Jewish, members of his nation that is close to him. And that should be the goal that you strive for, to be close to him, so your heart and soul will feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence within them, as mentioned earlier. It follows then that you have to take part in this. You have to stir the soul from its constraints. And it's contained within your body, and it is up to you to bring closer to your Father in heaven who waits for you. This requires a great deal of effort, active work, and habituation. So let's dissect that for a little bit. I wanna focus on two elements: inspiration and kedusha. For inspiration, what is the value of inspiration? Inspiration lifts a person up, that gives them the ability to be able to do the thing. It is not easy to be a Jew. It is not easy to keep halacha. It's not easy to follow the Taryag mitzvahs. It's not easy whatsoever. So what does a person need? They need inspiration that gives them the power to be able to say, hey, I can do this, or I want to do this, which is why, TJ is one long inspirational, upliftingness or whatever, right? It gives a person when you're there, and you see that even the people who you would never think in a million years would want to have a desire to want to have dvekus with Hashem, when they're there and they're feeling inspired, it makes sense to them, and it's their soul is lit up, and they feel that urge. So that's what inspiration is. In and of itself, it doesn't have any intrinsic value, meaning there's nothing that was accomplished by being inspired. You go and you hear a shir, or you go and you're a part of something, a crazy tefillah. You're not, unless you're doing like being inspired doesn't have any real value. The only value it has is to give you the strength to want to do something of value. Was that to motivate you? It it gives you the drive and the ability to do things that you normally would not be able to do. So now this is something important when we talk about being proactive, is that life is hard, and you have this like consistent where you're like, okay, I'm taking on these mitzvahs and I'm trying to do it. And then you find these people that after a few months, like, I don't want to do it anymore. Like I said, I was going to daven, I don't want to daven anymore. So I was going to learn once a week, I don't want to learn anymore. I was going to dress sneas, I don't want to wear the skirt anymore, keeping Shabbos, but like whatever. Everything that they do, right, it starts to wither away. And they don't understand this process. So yes, on the one hand, you can say, okay, wait for NC to come along for a Shabbaton. But a person has to know for themselves, what is it that lights my fire? What is it that inspires me? Because that becomes almost like a lifeline. If I say like this, I need chizuk, I need strength, because I know that I'm in this pursuit of godliness, and I want to grow and become the best I can be. And it's going to be a very hard journey. What are the things for me personally? Everyone should ask themselves that question. What are the things for me personally that light my fire, that give me the strength and the ability, the inspiration that I need? Whatever those things are, you need to have them in your arsenal to be able to fight against the Yetzer Hara. You need to create your schedule, and you look at your map and say, these are the things I can't compromise on. I need to be there for this. I need to do this. I need to invest some time here, because whatever those things are, right? I need to make sure that I have that in my life so that it keeps me going through the difficult journey of character development and Vegas to Hashem, right? So if it's a NC program, you hold on to that with both hands. If it's, I need to go once a week to the beach for sunrise because that's what gets me going, fine. Then that's what every person to each his own. But every person needs to know what those things are so that when they're in the funk, they can turn around and say, okay, great. I'm going to go out and get my chizuk. I'm going to go out and get my inspiration, the thing that's going to lift me up. That's going to give me the ability to get back on the horse.
What
That's
if,
yeah.
what if like the person's in the funk, whatever, and because of it, they don't even want to go out and like you have these opportunities, going to a shear is gonna lay you up, but like being in
I
the
would
funk,
say
I don't wanna light up. Like I wanna stay where I am. So like I'm
if
not
they're
gonna
if
reach
they're
out and
if
do
they're
it.
depressed, then it's reasonable, right?
Not
If they're
depression, I'm
truly
saying like
so if it's not if
lethargically.
it's not depression, then it's childish. It's a pure immaturity. Little children act based on what feels good in any given moment. You don't know the litmus test between whether or not you're literally a child or you're somebody who you could take that person serious, is that you make decisions with your head and not your heart. You can want whatever it is, but if when your heart's not feeling it and your brain tells you, okay, great. Now, since you're not feeling it, is the time to go to X and Y, place that's going to help you feel it again. Oh, but I don't want to. Okay, but then you're just a little child, right? You have to mature. Being a mature person means that you make the right decisions because not because you feel like it, because you're supposed to do it. It's the right thing to do. For those people, they just need to grow up. You need to grow up. And the best way, again, if a Shabbaton is what gives a person that clocking, whatever it is, and they're like, I don't feel it anymore, so I don't feel like going on the Shabbaton. Again, the intellectual decision is what do I want? If I'm in the pursuit of I just want to go there because I feel something, okay, then maybe you're just as childish because now you're an inspiration junkie, right? You're just getting your fix. Versus I'm using inspiration that is a necessity of a tool to get me to where I want to be. I want to grow. I want to be the best I can be. I realize that I can't do that if I'm not inspired. I don't want to burn out. And therefore, these events or these things are going to inspire me. I'm going to use them as tools effectively so that way I can get what I need to be able to accomplish what I really, really want, as opposed to, I don't know what I'm feeling in this moment. I'm not in the mood to feel inspired. It's very childish. Again, little children who are just saying like, "What are you in the mood for today?" That's not how it's supposed to be. A person, again, coming from a mature intellectual place, saying, "These are the things I want to become. I want to become this person. I want to elevate my character. I don't want to live I don't want to live sucked into my nihilism anymore." Fine. Therefore, um, I'm going to use these as tools. So when you see somebody who won't go to the thing that's going to inspire them because they're feeling uninspired to go to the thing, you're just dealing with someone who's very immature and childish. There's no other way to, you just got to call a spade because it's like saying, I don't want to get out of bed for work. It's like, okay, who cares what you want? Like, get out of bed. You know what I mean? Now, if you're on your way to burnout, we can figure out how to make adjustments and make it more exciting to go to sleep like a lion and wake up like a lion and not like a dog. Fine. Shout out to Adina. But if not, then I mean, what are we doing here? You know? I know it's very common. I can think of dozens of examples. I'm sure you can as well. But like if we're gonna be real and just call it for what it is, I mean that is what it is. Right? We make decisions with our head, not with our heart. The heart follows up. You fall in love with the right decisions versus making just any decision based on what you want and then hoping and praying that it was the right decision. That's not how Jews roll. So that's the first element is inspiration, knowing the value of inspiration. Um, the second thing is Kedusha, is the increasing of Kedusha as well. What does it mean to beautify a room? What does it mean to like, as he said, putting up flowers or whatever, like making that room beautiful for Hashem? The element is of increasing Kedusha in your life. A person, I think as a Kotzker Rebbe said, where do you find Hashem? Wherever you let him in. That a person who increases the level of Kedusha in their own life is now creating space for Hashem to dwell. But it was making the room attractive and glorifying the King from that metaphor, then yes, there will be more king to be glorified. It's not just about having a clean room, it's having a beautiful room. Increasing Kedusha into your life, right? Shabbos can be kept on the most baseline level. You can just not do malacha, you can make kiddush, and you can just do everything checking boxes and make it super dry. Or you can dive in and revel into the day itself. You can invest heavily in Oneg Shabbos. You can prepare beforehand and make it something that's incredibly uplifting. You can add Kedusha into your life in so many different ways that enhances your relationship and your Dveikus with Hashem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just talking actually with some like a few people about we have like I don't know if you've heard of the Hillel Orlando trip, but whatever, they're like talking about it and it's like over Shabbat and I was like, yeah, like me like some of the kids were saying like, oh, it's not really like a Shabbat environment and then like another group of kids that keep Shabbat, they're like, what do you mean we're not gonna use our phones and like what's the big deal? Like we're keeping Shabbat, we're gonna use Shabbat dinner and then we have like the party, whatever. It's like yeah, but it's not just like not using your phone. Like there's so many other things going on, whatever. But
These things affect you. The environment affects you. People don't realize that till they're much older. You know, it's like when they think like, why do your advisors not look at things they're not supposed to look at? They won't watch movies that have, certain, non-sneeze scenes in them, or they're not going to listen to music with vulgar language. Why? Not because they're naive and not because that they're a bunch of prudes who don't have any experience with everything. The reason is because the more lack of kedusha, the more schmutz you let into your life, the less space there is for Hashem to dwell. And it
it's also
affects.
like you're trying to focus on something. Like let's say I'm trying to like work, like I have like an assignment for school, but I'm doing the assignment in like an amusement park. Like why am I like I can't focus on the
It,
school
it
if I'm
all it all
there.
matters in
Like
effects. You think about it like you think about the aura of your home, right? You want to have kedusha in your home. It means like what's going on in your house? What are the things hanging on the walls? Again, like you have a TV in your living room versus not. It means you're if you're opening up the door for there to be a lack of kedusha that's flowing into your home, then you're just detracting from the aura of what you're trying to create. And as we saw from two parshias ago, the Vyasuli Mikdash, Chanti B'Seichacham, right? That you should create a temple to Agdwa. That's the entire thing. Is that if you turn yourself into a Mikdash, into something holy, then there will be more Hashem that can dwell in there. If you take those steps towards Kedusha and build that for Hashem, then there's going to be more dveikus. It's just going to naturally happen. You're just going to have more godliness in your life, and any schmutz you bring in is going to directly detract from it. This is how a person again can set themselves up for success to have a connection with Hashem with these two elements. Using inspiration for its value, for what it's meant to be used for, and also at the same time increase the kedusha in your life, and you're going to naturally see why. This is why people make decisions that sometimes people look at like, oh wow, that's a bit intense. You don't need to do that. That's not halacha. Yeah, it's not halacha, but a person is going above and beyond the halacha. Why? For the sake of creating a certain environment, a certain aura, a certain mood where there can be more godliness in their life. And it's true and it does work. You can follow the baseline stuff, you can check boxes, and it still won't have the same effect as somebody who lives a life of kedusha and understands. And then I think they're very strongly connected. You live a life of kedusha, then inspiration a lot of times can almost come naturally. But those are the two ideas in short. And these are things to be proactive about. When a person is not can't just go with the flow and live life and expect just naturally things to happen like a connection with Hashem. Proactively to go out, and if you invest in these two areas, you'll be far more successful with your relationship with Hashem, and that's going to directly affect how you develop your character for sure. There's no question. So we're on page 165 now. He says, I suspect that these words might frighten you, dear student. Up until now, you thought that spiritual elevation that we have demanded of you and which we told you cannot be absolved yourself from was purifying your character and removing the poisonous dust that we spoke about earlier, and that would be enough to transform yourself into a true Jew. You were able to understand that. Now, even after you've gone through the cleansing process and perfected your character, we are demanding that you elevate yourself to even greater heights so that your entire being becomes close to Hashem. And this is what we're talking about with Dveikus. This is where you start to look at every element of your life in the way that you're saying, okay, I'm going above and beyond. I'm not doing the bare minimum, right? I'm recognizing my negative character traits and I'm focusing on doing good. This is where the point where you start to transform your life to say, I'm going to start to strategically set up all areas of my life to be a receptacle for godliness, for Hashem. ultimately. This seems to be a mere addition, something that maybe one or two people in a city or a family are capable of accomplishing, with ordinary Jews are exempt, and this is a grave error. While it's true that the spiritual elevation closest to Hashem that great tzaddikim achieve, as above and beyond the simple person's comprehension, nevertheless, each and every Jew, regardless of his level, is virtually incapable of being an Eved Hashem if his heart is dry and his soul is sleeping and withdrawn. It is imperative, even for the simple person, to elevate himself to the point beyond himself and beyond this material world, at least on an occasional basis. He's talking about true dvekus, again, dating Hashem and connecting with Hashem in a meaningful way. As you talk about asmodidus, going out and talking to Hashem and changing the dynamics of the relationship you have with Hashem so that you're truly living with Him. You're going, again, above and beyond just the bare minimum. Moshe Rabbeinu and Klal Yisrael, no, he told Klal Yisrael, you were shown things for you realize that it is the Eternal who is God and none other besides Him. There's no the line, Ein od milvado, there's none but Him. This is like one of the highest madrigos that are out there. When you realize that like there's nothing in the world other than Hashem. Moshe did not say this to this generation alone. The Torah is eternal, and Moshe Rabbeinu, our eternal teacher, even today is still declaring and speaking to every Jewish heart and soul. I love when he makes this point. Right? We say the same thing about Kikaro Beilecha when we sing the song in the cave, right? We refer to Moshe as Moshe Rabbeinu because his teachings are he's still our Rebbe. And it's like, no, it wasn't just relevant to them at that point. It's relevant today, to be able to reach that state of dvekus, which is like pure attachment. You were shown things for you to realize that He is the Eternal, who is God, and there are none other besides Him. The knowledge and the thought that Hashem is out there somewhere in the heavens, outside of ourselves, is not enough. You were shown things for you to realize. The bottom line is to actually see and feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence. You, dear student, have already begun to show a glimpse of this knowledge, even though you are going to see Hashem's presence in front of your eyes, and in the same way that the prophets and the tzaddikim did, Moshe Rabbeinu already hinted to us in this pasuk, you shall internalize it today and impress upon your heart that it is the eternal God, that it is the Eternal who is God in heaven, above the earth, below, and there is no other besides Him. Impress it on your heart. Okay, so he's basically going deep into the concept of Ein od milvado. When a person has, and this is a lofty level. This is, we're going to dive into like Hasidus, I think he's going to start to get into the level of connection where you're living with Hashem at every given moment of your life, right? It's not like I just in the times that I'm learning Torah and that I'm focusing on my character development that Hashem is invited into the picture. It's that a constant. Ein od milvado, there's nothing else besides Him. That I'm in a constant state of dvekus. Again, this is the goal, the ideal goal, is that I'm living my life with Hashem. I'm living my life with Hashem. I'm bringing Him into every aspect and every element of my life, no matter how big or small or mundane. I ask Hashem to do well on my test. I ask Hashem for the parking spot. I ask Hashem to heal somebody from some horrible disease or to keep our soldiers safe. There's a lot to incorporate Hashem into our life. But like when you're done davening and you're like, okay, bye Hashem, I'll see you by mincha. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about impressing on your hearts, really, and doubling down on this hashkafa that Ein od milvado, that there's nothing else besides Him. They're living in a state of connection with Hashem. Easier said than done. Again, the two tools that I mentioned in the beginning, those are tactics to be able to get to that point. But that is the point. That's where we're at right now, is that a person's trying to achieve this type of relationship with Hashem where he's locked in fully, ultimately. Were you going to say something, or I saw you fidgeting for a second. And I defer to you the book of Attached as well, if you want to know
I'm
how to
trying to
approach the
stay
relationship.
awake. I'm like locked in. I'm so tired, but like so I was like,
Same.
okay, I'm good.
There's the same. Well, we'll do two more paragraphs over here.
No, I'm good.
Okay, impress it upon your heart. Go back inside yourself, look inside your heart, and you will realize that He is God, etc. Think about it. Why do you tremble before Hashem in your heart? Why deep down do you have this longing for the bona fide Torah learning and for real davening and mitzvah observance? Why is it that when you think about it, you say to yourself, wouldn't it be wonderful if I were a great tzaddik who was really close with Hashem, like the tzaddikim of the previous generation? And how happy I would be if I could daven like the Maggid of Koznitz, for example, and I could come pure and united with Hashem through my tefillos. Your heart quivers and your body shakes from these desires that burn in your heart. This is like this is basically like what this is what Amuna is. The way that I translate what Amuna is actualizing the reality of God in your life. Go from abstract, this idea that there is a God, and I know in my brain that God runs the world and that he's involved in every element of the world and yada 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 yada, to well, that becomes so much of a reality. It's like it becomes more of a reality, literally like gravity and air and oxygen, where it's like it's impossible to not. And that's again, sorry, a lofty level, but imagine to be there. Emuna is actualizing the reality of God. It goes from being an abstract in your mind to like, wait a minute, God is real. What is it to be clocked? Like when you're clocked with the reality, you go back to someone, you're just like, oh my God, I feel God in every element of my life. Nothing needs to be said. I'm walking out of this cave and I know that Hashem is true and is real and whatever it is, I'm so locked in. I feel that connection for sure. When a person works on their emuna, on their faith, with Hashem, it's not really faith, it's faithfulness. A person works on their emuna by incorporating Hashem into every element of their life, so much so that what he said, it becomes habitual. It becomes like second nature. Like you don't have to remind yourself that there's a God out there who controls the world. It is second nature. He is just everywhere. Everywhere you look, you see Hashem in a healthy way. He is a part of all your endeavors throughout the entire day. You feel this strong closeness with him. It's not something that you have to think about or focus or contemplate or whatever. You just feel that closeness because you're living your life with Hashem. That's the elevated state in which he's talking about. And again, it's not going to happen overnight, but it is definitely possible to get to that place. The place where you're living in just conjunction with Hashem in everything that you do. Where do all these feelings come from? And if not the fact that you are standing before Hashem and your soul cannot help but melt into the yearning for Him. You'll realize it today and impress it upon your hearts. That is the eternal who is God. When you internalize this fact in your heart, then you will know that Hashem is the God. This is again throwback to Geula when we talked about Chachma Bina V'das. It's the Chachma is that the information's in your head. Is there a God who runs the world? Sure, there's a God who runs the world. Of course. Bina is okay, so then how does that affect me? Right? God runs the world, but I'm not a part of the world. No, how does he run my life as well? That everything that I'm going through, that God is a reality, is not just out there abstract, but he's actually relevant to me. And Das is where a person is able to live in unison with that idea, where it's concretized into their day to day. And that's a process. It's a very long process to get to that point. But that's what he is in that last line. When you internalize the fact in your heart, then you will know that Hashem is the God, right? Not in only when there's times are good or times are bad, that you're living and you're like, okay, Hashem truly runs this world and he's with me. He's with me in everything that I'm doing. This is the goal. This is where we want to aspire to. Again, how do you get there? Through baby steps. You get there through trying to incorporate everything into your life, Hashem into every element of your life. I don't know if I shared this before, but it's some people are very critical. When I mean critical, not justified critical, but like when they're young and they're like, well, Judaism has what to say on every single topic in the entire world. It's so OD. It's so OD that Allah tells you how to wake up in the morning and how to get dressed and how to shower and how to go to the bathroom and how to eat and how to everything. It just has a comment on everything, nonstop. Yes, because there should not be a single mundane thing you could do in your life without having the ability to incorporate Hashem into it. Because there's Kedusha there. So it's not OD. It's that, in fact, you have the ability. Hashem says if a person can live with as much Hashem as they want, here, every single thing you do, from waking up in the morning to putting your shoes on, you can incorporate Hashem and godliness into that element and make him ever more present, internalizing, actualizing that reality of Hashem. That is something that we can do with those small steps through the Jewish lifestyle to increase Kedusha, to use inspiration as a tool when needed. But then we have the ability to incorporate more Hashem into our lives. And it's an incredible gift, honestly. Well, the last paragraph here, and then we'll let Avi and Riri go shluff. But Moshe Rabbeinu didn't merely say that Hashem is the God in the heavens. He also said on the earth below, and there is none other. And that's the main thing, to see and know how even here on earth there is nothing other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How can a person honestly make this statement if within his heart there are foreign gods, chas v'shalom? The Gemara says, which foreign god does man possess within himself? This is referring to the Yetzer Hara, who will mix this up and get us all confused on this. How can he claim that the Jew serves Hashem while at the same time he serves a foreign god within him, fulfilling its commandments? God forbid. How can he approach Hashem and say, "Blessed you are, Hashem, our God"? Standing before Hashem, he says, "You are our God," but in his heart there roosts a foreign god with whom he subjugates himself. God forbid. In this context, it might sound a little intense or extreme, but what is he talking about? Foreign gods, the Yetzer Hara. It means that whatever the item is of the day, if a person is more caught up, let's say, for example, they get overly like, oh my God, will I get accepted to this one thing or not? Will I get accepted to this program? Will I get accepted to this whatever? Such a lack of emuna, if you really think about it, right? In that moment, you are basically saying that these decision makers who are going to decide are more powerful than God. They know better than God in that moment. Similar to when we said a person loses their temper and they fall into anger. That anger, it's like avodah zarah, because you're not serving Hashem at that point. You're serving your anger. Whatever it tells you to do is what you're going to do and how you're going to act. So when we say foreign gods and refer to the Yetzer Hara, what does it mean? It means that gets in the way. Either God is Eino Milvado, there's nothing but Him. Everything in your life is just an extension of whatever God's ratzon is at that given moment, right? Or you're giving power, you're outsourcing power to something or someone else, in which case it's pure avodah zarah. And that's why your first name is foreign gods. Because even though you're not outright worshiping them, you're not davening to technology, but at the same time, if it has a certain grip and a hold on you that detracts you away from doing what you have to do, then yes, in a sense, you are serving them. And you fight fire with fire. You start to build your emunah in Hashem, because the more that Hashem is relevant in your life, the more strength you'll have to resist falling into some other foreign god or something else that wants to have a, whatever, say or seat at the table kind of thing. So we'll stop here because I'm also barely hanging in there at this point. But this is what we're going to be focusing on, and I think that there's good homework to be have here and how to incorporate a little bit of Hashem into our lives, into different areas, and see things for what they are. Call ourselves out when we have these lack of emuna, with okay, we're lacking in our relationship. We're a little insecure with our relationship with God, because if so, why are you forgetting about Hashem? Why are you saying that other people or other forces have power over him? Ichap?
I hop. The emoji is a sleepy emoji since we're sleepy. Sarah, hi, hello.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this again, it's more abstract. Some people look at Judaism as box checking, right? Am I keeping halacha? Which mitzvah can I take on? There is no better mitzvah. There's nothing better to engage in the pure work of just trying to bond and connect with Hashem, bringing kedusha into your life and just making life itself more meaningful along with Hashem, to feel His presence and feel Him accompanying you in everything that you're doing. And then when that becomes second nature, which again is a very, very tall task to do, and you're able to truly say Eino Novado, that like everything that's happening in my life, like it can't bother me, upset me, because it's all Hashem. Like
Also,
everything.
like fake it till you make it. If you just say those lines, like you say, "There's nothing but Hashem," and you're
Well,
constantly
yeah,
saying
but
it
it's
to
not,
yourself, like.
it's not faking it, because if you
No, I'm
truly
not faking
believe
it.
it,
I'm saying if you like, if like to work on it, like if I
right,
just
right,
continue saying.
right, right, we definitely
Ugh.
in future weeks we can definitely come up with some homeworks and little things that like, or you can do it on your own. You know your own life, and saying like this: where can I incorporate a little bit more Hashem into my life? It's a very powerful thing, you know. Where can I just have a little bit more godliness in this one element
It's
of my life?
usually like the moments I think in general for people like that I'm not incorporating godliness is like the times where I don't want to remember like my mission or whatever. Like if you're in like a certain environment or whatever, like in this moment where I'm doing like a wrong, I know I'm gonna be doing a wrong action. I don't want to be thinking about God because like then I'm
Right,
gonna be like clock myself kind of like so like
right. So what do you do if you need a little bit of inspiration?
no, I'm saying that you should like the homework I guess would be like
Right,
I don't know
right.
for me that I'm thinking
In the
like
scenario that you described also, but that's a perfect time to be able to say, okay, listen, I know what gives me inspiration, and I know that I'm feeling a little bit, like I'm not where I want to be currently. That's the time where you look into that and say, I need to get myself pumped up. If it's talking to somebody or going somewhere, doing something.
time to join Chovas Hatalmidim almost every
Try.
Wednesday.
We try almost. No, we're back on track. Should be locked in till Pesach time.
Whoa,
Here's our show.
amen.
Actually, Avi, I won't be able to come next week.
sadly.
Oh, it's the play.
Yep.
Ah.
I want to come one
Yeah,
day.
Oh, it's
really.
Spa Quad.
You should come, Rihanna. It's gonna
Me
be great.
and Jacob and Kami are trying to find a day that we can go.
Yay.
It's so nice
No
that
promises, but I'm gonna try.
Hillel's
Yay.
doing Shrek.
No,
No?
not Shrek. Newsies.
I
Oh,
don't know
that's
what that
cool.
is, but I'll find out next week, maybe.
Anyway, Shkach, glad to be back, and Mr.
Whew.
Shem will continue to go
See
strong
you
and
on
stark to the
Gula.
pacing.
I
Absolutely.
Wait,
won't see you on Gula.
I'll see me in the real Gula. That's what matters.
when
Ah, that's
Gula.
facts. That's facts.